Introduction to Microsoft Azure AZ-104. Candidates for this exam should have subject matter expertise in implementing, managing, and monitoring an organization's Microsoft Azure environment, including virtual networks, storage, compute, identity, security, and governance. An Azure administrator often serves as a part of a larger team dedicated to implementing an organization's cloud infrastructure. Azure administrators also coordinate with other roles to deliver Azure networking, security, database, application development, and DevOps solutions. Candidates for this exam should be familiar with operating systems, networking, servers, and virtualization. In addition, professionals in this role should have expertise using PowerShell, Azure CLI, and the Azure portal. Azure Resource Manager templates, ARM templates, and Microsoft Azure Active Directory Azure AD, part of the Microsoft Entra. The skills measured: manage Azure identity and governance from 15 to 20%, implement and manage storage 15 to 20%, deploy and manage Azure compute resources 20 to 25%, configure and manage virtual networking 20 to 25%, monitor and maintain Azure resources 10 to 15%, and so on. So these are the percentage what is covered in the exam. Are you excited? I will see you in the next lecture. Configure Azure resources with tools. Scenario. So Azure administrator use tools to interact with the cloud environment and complete such tasks as deploying dozens or hundreds of resources at a time, configuring individual services using scripts, view rich reports across usage, health, cost, and more. So you must select and use the tooling option. Your choices can include the Azure portal, Azure PowerShell, Azure CLI, or Azure Cloud Shell. The skills measured. So these administrative tools aren't directly tested on exam AZ-104, Microsoft Azure Administrator. However, may be used during performance-based testing. The learning objectives here. In this section, you will learn manage resources with Azure portal, manage resources with Azure Cloud Shell, manage resources with Azure PowerShell, manage resources with Azure CLI. Thanks for watching. Now using the Azure portal. So the Azure portal lets you build, manage, and monitor everything from a simple web app to complex cloud application in a single unified console. Now, in a bit, I will show you the Azure portal, but first, let's see what is the benefit of Azure portal or the features. You can search resources, services, and docs. You can manage resources. You can create customized dashboards and favorites. You can access the Cloud Shell and you can receive notifications. You can links to the Azure documentation. So here you can see that here is the Azure portal. So it is portal.azure.com or ms.portal.azure.com. Right now here you can see that you can go to a different services from here. So the app services, container apps, the registry, key vault, a lot of stuff, virtual machines, all of that. Here you can see that another resources that have been created and you can navigate to subscription, resource group, or resources here. If you click on the all resources, here you can browse all the resources you have. As you can see, virtual machines, apps, all of that things, okay? Now we will handle a lot of stuff, a lot of important stuff for the Azure AZ-104 certificate and in a practical way. All right, thanks for watching. Use Azure Cloud Shell. Azure Cloud Shell is an interactive browser-accessible shell for managing Azure resources. It provides the flexibility of choosing the shell experience that best suits the way you work, and Linux users can opt for a bash experience while Windows user can opt for PowerShell. Cloud Shell enables access to browser-based command line experience built with Azure management tasks in mind. You can use Cloud Shell to work untethered from a local machine in a way only cloud can provide. So the features, and after the feature, I'm gonna show you on the portal itself where to find the Cloud Shell. So Azure Cloud Shell features First, it is temporary and requires a new or existing Azure file share to be mounted. Offers an integrated graphical text editor based on the open source Monaco editor. Authenticates automatically for instant access to your resources. Runs on a temporary host provided on a per session per user basis. Times out after 20 minutes without interactive activity. Requires a resource group, storage account, and Azure file share. Uses the same Azure file share for both Bash and PowerShell. Is assigned to one machine per user account, and it persists a $home environment variable using a 5 GB image held in your file share, and the permission are set as a regular Linux user in Bash. So from here, you can see if you open your Azure account, you can see that we have if you on the right up corner, a Cloud Shell here. Click on it, it will pop up this one. So you can choose a Bash or PowerShell. For example, let's use Bash. And here you can see that it will show us it needs an Azure subscription, because currently I don't have any valid subscription here. So it needs an Azure subscription. So let's create an Azure subscription. By the way, when you first create a new account, it will provide you with a free account or a $20, and or you can use the pay-as-you-go method. All right, so the pay-as-you-go here, you can see that it has a lot of stuff features. So it gets monthly, and you pay only for what you see beyond the free amounts, and no upfront commitment, so you can cancel anytime. All right, and here you can see that there are like the types of the free monthly amount here, how it is at the free period, and all of that. All right. So here you can see that I am upgrading to pay as you go because I am not eligible for the free only. So from here you can see that I can upgrade to the Azure support plan to developer, standard, and professional. Here you can see that how much it is per month, or you can use the basic. In our case, we will use the basic because we are just learning new stuff. So choose the basic and choose the name of the subscription and upgrade to pay as you go. By the way, you have to enter your phone number, your credit card, and this asked from Azure Microsoft for you if you pay anything, so they will take the cost from that credit card. It is successfully upgraded subscription. Now let's check. So here you can see that you have upgrade, stay track on with Azure cost, and here you can see how much credit I have because I already used all of the credit. And here the actual amount I have to go. So let's go to the management and billing. And here you can see that I don't have any cost amount due. So it is $0, no worries. Now click on here on the Cloud Shell and use Bash here. And you can use, and here, as I mentioned in the previous slides, that you need to have a subscription and a storage account. So you have no storage account. We want to create a new storage account, but please be careful. And if you are not on the free trial version, the $20 USD credit, you're gonna pay some money. Or it's not that much actually. It is a small monthly cost. You can see the pricing from here, but it will, if you don't want to spend anything, you shouldn't do this. You can just follow me. By the way, I recommend you to do, I'm pretty sure you are reserving some cash to learn new stuff. And this is very important investment for you, actually, I think. So create the storage account. So here you can see that it will start working, requesting a Cloud Shell succeeded and connecting to a terminal. And finally, here you can see that we have a Bash Cloud Shell. Imagine that. So ls, you can see that here it is. Who am I? It will show the username, Mus'ab, my name is of the account, all right? And pwd, here you can see home user Mus'ab, all right? So clear, you can see that all the Linux or most of the Linux command will be working here. And by the way, you can change this to PowerShell, and you can see that you need to confirm, and you can restart the Cloud Shell. You can here you can see we have help. Here you can see that we can settings like the text size, the font. You can reset user settings if you want the default one. So for example, I change this to large and change this to something else. I can just click on here, it will reset to the default. And here you can see that we have the upload, download files as well. You can see this is very convenient. So I want to upload a file to this place, to the home Mus'ab directory. I can just from here upload. And if I have a file, for example, touch test.txt, and it has some values, information, log files, for example, I can download it from here, no problem. And you can see, by the way, we can manage the file share as well. So you want, don't worry, we will talk about this in detail later on in this course. But keep in your mind that we can enable and manage the file share as well. Here we can see that you can open a new session, as well as you can open the editor here, all right? Or like opening the editor, you can see like this, like something very fancy, I mean, all right? You can see that like this, I can open it and I can close it like this, all right? And we can see that we can configure like the port being used and all of that stuff, all right? Now, this is a very convenient, and believe me, if you work previously on the cloud, like on other providers, maybe AWS, maybe Azure itself, you can see that this is a very convenient feature and it is like a time saving, all right? Okay. Hope you enjoyed this video. I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Use Azure PowerShell. Azure PowerShell is a module that you add to Windows PowerShell or PowerShell core to enable you connect to Azure subscription and manage resources. Now, Azure PowerShell requires PowerShell to function. PowerShell provides services such as the shell window and command parsing. Azure PowerShell adds the Azure specific commands. So for example, Azure PowerShell provides the new AZ-VM command that creates a virtual machine inside your Azure subscription. To use it, you would launch the PowerShell application and then issue a command such as the following command: new -AZ-VM, and you can space dash resource group name, and here is you can put the resource group name, then space dash, you must be dash here, all right, spaces I mean, dash name, CRM unit tests, and dash image, and this then image of the test. And this is just an example, all right? So if I open the PowerShell like this one, make sure you are using the latest one, and you can just follow the features and improvement here from this Windows. So if I type new -AZ, if I click on tab, there are nothing because this is not installed yet. No worries. In the next lectures, I will show you how to install the Azure PowerShell. All right. So if I open from here, if I type AZ-new and click tab, the tab button, or the command I mean being used, new -AZ-VM, and click on tab, the tab button, here it will show all the commands for the new AZ-VM. But we are going to use new AZ-VM space, then dash name, the name of the subscription. If I return back here you can see that the dash resource group name. If I click dash resource group name here, and then put with double quotation the resource group name, then dash name. All right, with double quotation here, you can put the name of the VM, Azure VM, and space dash image. Okay, so for example, resource group name, it must be created, but this is just a test, all right? Whatever, okay, whatever values. I'm just showing you how to do it, all right? Now, again, don't worry, we will talk about this in details in the next lectures, all right? How to create a resource group, how to create virtual machines, choosing the best image you want, whatever. All of that will be discussed later on. But for now, just follow me, all right? And the image, use, for example, Ubuntu, whatever, okay? And here is the example. So if I click this command, by the way, this will not work because this resource group is not here. But it could create a new resource group name with this name, and create this virtual machine with this name, with this image being provided, all right? Control C, so we don't need this, all right? So this example was just to show you how to do it on the PowerShell. By the way, if you want to use it on locally, your local machine, you must install the Azure PowerShell as well. Azure PowerShell is also available two ways: inside a browser via Azure Cloud Shell, as we saw just, or using the local installation on Linux, Mac OS, or Windows operating system. So in both cases, you have two modes from which to choose. You can use it in interactive mode, in which you manually issue one command at a time, or in a scripting mode, where you execute a script that consists of multiple commands. All right, so you can have a script, have multiple commands, and it will be running sequentially. Or you can have one command and being interactively, manually with the PowerShell. So either it is locally on your machine or it is on the cloud shell. All right. So what is the AZ module? AZ is the formal name for the Azure PowerShell module containing CMDlets to work with Azure features. It contains hundreds of CMDlets that let you control nearly every aspect of every Azure resource. You can work with the following feature and more. So resource groups, storage, VMs, Azure AD, containers, machine learning. All right. Okay, cool. Thanks for watching. Now again, in the next lectures in this course, we will handle all of that, all of these details, how to create one, how to install, all of that will be handled, but don't worry. For now, keep in your mind, we have something called Azure PowerShell and module, and we can use it to create either interactively manually, one command at a time, or by using a scripting, PowerShell scripting, to be running as a script sequentially. All right, thanks for watching. Interactive Lab Azure PowerShell. All right. Now the lab scenario, you are the Azure administrator for your organization. You decide to automate some common administration tasks by using Azure PowerShell. So you need to create a resources groups, you need to create managed disks, change the configuration of managed disk, and so on. All right. Now, this is the architecture diagram. We will perform task 1, task 2, task 3. All right. This for on this resource group, and we have this specific. All right. Now, this is just an architecture diagram. So the objectives: start a PowerShell session in Azure Cloud Shell, create a resource group by using PowerShell, and create a storage account by using PowerShell. All right. This is something can be done from here on the right up corner. Cloud Shell, click on it, and choose from here to be a PowerShell. This is something we already saw in the previous lecture. Now the second task, create a resource group by using PowerShell. Now this is something easy and can be done without any issue. First, we can choose and use the portal itself, all right, from here. So if you click on create a resource, and from here, if you type a resource group, here you can see it, a resource group, click on it. And here, let's minimize this for now, all right. And here you can see that we can create a resource group here and here at the plan and all of that. Or another way to do it, from here, type resource group or resource groups. So here you can see that we have the resource group. By the way, because we already created a storage account, and if you click on the resource group, this will be for the shell storage, all right? And inside it we have the storage account, because so that by that we already created a resource group. The resource group, inside it we have a storage account, and that storage account is used with the cloud shell. Okay, but it is easy. You can click on the create, and here you can choose the name of it, and you can choose the region you want it to be. You can put the tags, review, and create. All right, as simple as that. But the task is using the Azure PowerShell. All right. So it is simple. I just want you to show you. So again, click on this one, the Cloud Shell, the PowerShell one. And we can just put a command, a simple command, copy and paste. But I want to show you the right way to do it. So just type Azure PowerShell, create resource group. I want to show you how to get the information you need from Google or from any other search engine you prefer. So from here, you go to the official documentation, AZ-resource group. This is the command, and here is the syntax, and here all of the options it provides, and you can read about it in the description, a very long detailed description. And finally, we can have examples. So from here, you can just copy and paste. So like this, copy and paste, depends on the location you want. So for example, I want to have this location, I want to have other locations, and all of that. All right. Now, how to get the locations? Azure locations list, and here from the official documentation, here you can see that it will provide the list of the locations. Here from the next step, Azure services and regional support. Here all of the locations are available. So for example, for America, we have East US 2, for the Europe, UK South, North Europe, etc., etc. Qatar Middle, and UAE North for Middle East, Africa as well, Asia, as you can see, India, Japan East, Korea, etc., etc. All right. So all of that is available online. So nothing, no secret here. All right. So just prepare the official documentations and just Google it or type any search about it on any search engine you prefer. All right. Now the last task is to create a storage account by using the PowerShell. Now it is very simple. So if you go here to the storage account from here, if you type storage account, you can see that we already have one. This one is used for the Cloud Shell, okay? Because it is a requirement for the Cloud Shell to be working to have a storage account. All right. Now, what we want to do is create from here, like this one, create. It is very simple. And here you can choose the resource group, you can choose the name of it, the region, the performance, and all of the redundancy options you have, and all of that, the advanced, the networking, data protection, encryption with tags as well. All right. Now we don't need to create it using the portal. We want to create it using the PowerShell. Again, it is very simple. Just Google it or search anything about Azure PowerShell, create a storage account, and go here to the official documentation. No hidden secret as well, as we mentioned before. And here you can read more about it, and you can choose the one that you want, the method. Okay, so we want to have a PowerShell. All right, and here you can start by doing this. So you can see that to create first, we need a resource group, and we already have a resource group. We don't need to create another resource group. Now, and here, this is the command we're gonna do is new AZ storage account resource group, and we can put the storage, we can put the name of the resource group, the name of the Azure storage account, and the location where it is, the SKU name, what is the name of the SKU, the kind is storage v2. And after applying this command, we will have a storage account here. All right. Now I don't want to redo it again because we already have a storage account here. No need. By the way, you can see that we can have as well in the official documentation, we can have this script like having this environment variable or this variable, and have the resource group name and have the account name here, the storage account name, and you can create a new storage account and make some modification, like if you want to specify Azure DNS zone, endpoint type, primary endpoint, secondary endpoint, all of that will be available. And you can see that a lot of information and how to delete and a lot of stuff. You can see a lot of stuff. All right, cool. Now I hope you are enjoyed this video and hope you have did this practically and follow me with step by step. And thanks for watching. I will see you in the next lecture. Using Azure CLI. Azure CLI is a command line program to connect to Azure and execute administrative commands on Azure resources. It runs on Linux, Mac OS, and Windows and allows administrators and developers to execute their commands through a terminal, command line prompt, or script instead of a web browser. For example, to restart a VM, you would use a command such as the following. So AZ VM restart -g, the name of resource group, -n, the name of the VM. For example, here, my VM. Now, what is the difference between Azure CLI then and Azure PowerShell? All right, actually, they are the same. Okay, but some people prefer Azure CLI, some people prefer Azure PowerShell, and others are preferring the portal. But some of the commands actually exist only on Azure CLI, and some commands exist only on Azure PowerShell, and sometimes the portal doesn't have everything available, so you need to use the Azure CLI or Azure PowerShell. All right. So that's the main. But actually, these are a slight different. So you don't see it on the main products or main services, only on the specific small details. All right. For now, you will not face it as a starter. Unless you are an intermediate or expert in Azure, you will know that, yeah, there are some differences. All right. Now, Azure CLI provides a cross-platform command line tools for managing Azure resources. You can install the CLI locally on computers running the Linux, Mac OS, or Windows operating systems. You can also use Azure CLI from the browser through Azure Cloud Shell. All right. And I think in both cases, Azure CLI can be used interactively or through scripts. So interactive, first for Windows operating system, launch a shell such as cmd.exe, or for Linux or Macs, use the bash. Then issue the command at the shell prompt. As we saw from the previous slides for Azure PowerShell, it is the same concept. And don't worry, we will handle the practical steps in the next lecture. No worries. For now, just follow me. And we have the other way, which is scripted. So assemble the Azure CLI commands into a shell script using script syntax of your chosen shell, then execute that script. Azure CLI lets you control nearly every aspect of every Azure resource. You can work with resource groups, storage, VMs, Azure Active Directory, Azure AD, containers, machine learning, and so on. Commands in the CLI are structured in groups and subgroups. Each group represents a service provided by Azure, and the subgroup divide commands for these services into logical groupings. For example, the storage group contains subgroups including account, blob, share, and queue. So how do you find the particular commands you need? One way is to use AZ-find. For example, if you want to find commands that might help you manage a storage blob, you can use the find command. So here it is, AZ-find, then blob. All right, here is an example. If you already know the name of the command you want, the -- help argument for the command will get you more detailed information on the command, and for the command group, a list of the available subcommands. So for example, here's how you can get a list of subgroups and commands for managing blob storage. AZ storage blob -- help. All right, this will give you the whole of the subgroups and commands. All right, thanks for watching. Now, in the next lecture, we will handle all of the practical stuff. All right, for now, keep in your mind that the difference between Azure CLI and PowerShell and the portal is just a preference. If you prefer this or if you prefer that. If you want an automation way, of course, you have to use the Azure CLI through a script or Azure PowerShell, because you can have a script to create, to modify, to delete, etc., etc. All right. But in the portal, of course, you can have a graphical user interface, easy to use, and you can drag and drop, use, select, and modify everything you want on the fly. All right. This is just a preferences, no right thing or the wrong way. All right. It's just preferences and a cases when to use this and when to use that. All right. Cool. I will see you in the next lecture. Interactive lab, the Azure CLI. The lab scenario, so you are the Azure administrator for your organization, so you decide to automate some common administration task by using Azure Command Line Interface, CLI. All right, so you need to create a resource groups, you need to create managed disk, you need to change the configuration of managed disk, for example, creating a storage account, as we saw from the previous Azure PowerShell lab. So here we will do the same. So here is the architecture diagram. We will have a subscription, and the subscription inside you have a resource group, and inside the resource group we have a storage account. All right, so the objectives: we want to start a bash in a session, a bash session in the Azure Cloud Shell. We want to create a resource group by using the Azure CLI this time. We want to create a storage account by using the Azure CLI. All right, now I recommend you to pause the video, try it yourself, and then see the solution for it. All right. Okay, we can start. And actually, I will show you the right way to do it and how to search about it. And as we saw from the previous lab we do. So here it is. Here the portal we are using. Okay, now from here, as we learn, so the first task to start a bash session, we already saw that. This is very simple. From here, we will create a new Cloud Shell. Because I don't have a storage account, I will create a new storage account. Okay, now we already did that. Now the task 2, create a resource group by using the Azure CLI. Now, as we saw previously, now just Google it. As simple as that. I'm just showing you the right way to do. So you can type AZ CLI. You see the search word? Here it is, create resource group. All right. It will show you the official link. All right. As you can see, the official link from Microsoft for Azure. And yes, here it is the command, the main command, AZ group. Okay. So no hidden secret here. It is not a genius to do so. It is just follow the steps, know how to search, and search quickly. So you don't need to just take the whole time searching. No, you need to search quickly. So here, manage resource group and template deployment. Here you can see AZ group create, delete, deployment, a lot of commands actually, and with examples as well. So you can see that for the AZ group create, here you can see that we have the location, we have the name, we have the managed by, we have the tags. All right, here is an example. So you can see that we have examples as well. So create a new resource group in the West US region. So here we can just AZ group create -L, and you can see that the -L, if you see here, the -L or dash location are the same. Okay, so these are the locations, and the value you can get it, as you can see, from AZ account list locations. So you don't know what to put here. So should I put West United States, or should I put South Korea, or whatever value here? No, you can get these from a list locations using this command. As you can see, everything is verbose, everything is clean. So you can just follow just the examples and the documentation. You can configure the default using the AZ configure the default location. Here you can just configure the default location. For example, you prefer West US all the time, you can just use it, no problem. All right, -N here, or if your term, if you see here below, the -- name or the -- group, okay, here will be used here. So this command will create a resource group called my resource group in the location West US. All right, you can actually, I don't need to do it, by the way, because or let's do it, no problem. Here I put it, copy paste it here, as simple as that, and let's create it. So here you can see that the command is successful. As you can see, the provisioning state is succeed. How to check that? You can see from here, you can just type resource group, here it is, and you can scroll down. I can minimize this. All right, let me refresh this. You can see that my resource group, and the my resource group, the location is West US. All right, cool. So far so good. Now let me click on the Cloud Shell again, and here you can see that by using the commands. All right. Now the task 3, create a storage account by using the Azure CLI. Now again, here you can just search about it, as simple as that. Either search on the main official documentation, but this will take time. As you can see, there are a lot of references here, or you can just Google it like this, AZ storage account, as simple as that. You see that it didn't take 2 seconds from me. All right, so AZ storage account, here you can see that we can manage storage account blobs, create a blob inventory. Don't worry about the storage accounts, blob, containers, file shares, queues, all of that will be handled in this course, no worries at all, in details as well. So actually in a boring details, as much as that, all right? So no worries at all. But for now, follow me and how to create a simple storage account, all right? So here you can see that we can AZ storage account create. This is just to create a click on it. You can see that it has a lot of subcommands and all of that. All right. Here an example. AZ storage account create -N. This is just to create a storage account named this one, and in the resource group, this resource group in the West US region, which with the locally redundant storage. All right. Now again, don't worry about the LRC or LRS or the locally redundant storage, all of that. Don't worry, we will handle it in details in this course, but for now, follow me, please. So, AZ storage account, create -N, this is the name of the storage account, -G, This is the resource group. How did I know about this? Just scroll down here. You can see that the resource group or -G means the name of the resource group. You can configure as well the default group using this one command. All right. So for now, -L, the location. And how did I know? Again, if you scroll down here, and if you didn't find it, you can just find it in the page. As you can see, Control F and location, and here it is. The location or -L is the same. All right, cool. Now another thing, the -SQ, which is standard LRS. This is the locally redundant storage. And if I just copy and paste it here as a find, and here you can see that it will show you the storage account SKU. And here the accept values are premium LRS, premium ZRS, standard GRS, and a lot of values. Again, don't worry about the storage account SKU. We will handle all of these in details later on in this course. But for now, just follow me. All right. And finally, this will create a storage account for us. Okay, now again, I don't need to create it and delete it, but you can just try it out. It's very simple. Just copy and paste it here, and it will create this storage account. And to delete the storage account or the resource group, again, we will follow the main documentation. So for example, here, Azure or AZ storage account delete. This is to delete a storage account. The same thing for the resource group. All right? Okay, cool. Hope you enjoyed this lecture, and thank you for watching. Use Azure Resource Manager. The scenario, your company is beginning to create resources in Azure. There is no organizational plan for standardizing the effort. There have been several instances where critical resources were inadvertently deleted. It is difficult to determine who owns which resource, and you need to use resource groups to organize the company's resources. So the skills measured in this section. Managing resources is a part of the exam AZ-104 Microsoft Azure Administrator. Manage Azure identities and governance like 15 to 20%. Manage subscriptions and governance, configure resource locks. Manage resource groups. Deploy and manage Azure compute resources 20 to 25%. Configure VMs, move VMs from one resource group to another. So the learning objectives. In this section, you will learn how to identify the features and usage cases for Azure Resource Manager, describe each Azure Resource Manager component and its usage, organize your Azure resources with resource groups, apply Azure Resource Manager locks, move Azure resources between groups, subscription, and regions, remove resources and resource groups, apply and track resource limits. Thanks for watching. Review Azure Resource Manager benefits. Review Azure Resource Manager benefits. The infrastructure for your application is typically made up of many components, maybe a virtual machine, storage account, and virtual network, or a web app, database server, and third-party services. These components are not separate entities. Instead, they are related and interdependent parts of a single entity. You want to deploy, manage, and monitor them as a group. So Azure Resource Manager enables you to work with resources in your solution as you can deploy, update, or delete all resources for your solution in a single coordinated operation. You use a template for deployment, and that template can work for different environments such as testing, staging, and production. Azure Resource Manager provides security, auditing, and tagging features to help you manage your resources after deployment. Consistent management layer. Azure Resource Manager provides a consistent management layer to perform tasks through Azure PowerShell, Azure CLI, Azure Portal, REST API, and Client SDKs. Choose the tools and API that work best for you. The following image shows how all the tools interact with the same Azure Resource Manager API. The API passes requests to the Azure Resource Manager service, which authenticates and authorizes the requests. Azure Resource Manager then routes the requests to the appropriate resource providers. So here you can see that the Azure portal Azure PowerShell, Azure CLI, and the REST clients, all of them. But only the PowerShell and CLI going through SDKs, and all of them will be connected here, and it will go to create resources, etc., through Azure Resource Manager. Here it will authenticate as well as creating data store, web app, virtual machine, service management, other services. All right. So the Azure Resource Manager here will control the creation, updating, and deleting of the services. All right. Through the various methods, Azure Portal, PowerShell, CLI, REST clients. Benefits. Azure Resource Manager provides several benefits. You can deploy, manage, and monitor all the resources for your solution as a group rather than handling these resources individually. You can repeatedly deploy your solution throughout the development lifecycle and have confidence your resources are deployed in a consistent state. You can manage your infrastructure through declarative templates rather than scripts. You can define the dependencies between resources so they are deployed in the correct order. You can apply access control to all services in your resource group because role-based access control RBAC is natively integrated into the management platform. You can apply tags to resources to logically organize all the resources in your subscription. You can clarify your organization billing by viewing costs for a group of resources sharing the same tag. Guidance. The following suggestions help you take full advantage of Azure Resource Manager when working with your solutions. Define and deploy your infrastructure through the declarative syntax in Azure Resource Manager templates rather than through imperative commands. Define all deployment and configuration steps in the template. You should have no manual steps for setting up your solution. Run imperative commands to manage your resources, such as to start or stop an app or machine. Arrange resources with the same life cycle in a resource group. Use tags for all other organizing of resources. Thanks for watching. Review Azure Resource Terminology. If you are new to Azure Resource Manager, there are some terms that you might not be familiar with. Resource. It is a manageable item that is available through Azure. Some common resources are virtual machines, storage account, web app, database, and virtual network, but there are many more. We have resource group, a container that holds related resources for an Azure solution. The resource group can include all resources for the solution or only those resources that you want to manage as a group. You decide how you want to allocate resources to resource groups based on what makes the most sense of your organization. Resource provider. It is a service that supplies the resources you can deploy, manage through Resource Manager. Each resource provider offers operations for working with the resources that are deployed. Some common resource providers are Microsoft.Compute, which supplies the virtual machine resource, Microsoft.Storage, which supplies the storage account resource, and Microsoft.Web, which supplies resources related to web apps. We have template. So it is a JavaScript object notation, a JSON file that defines one or more resources to deploy to a resource group. It also defines the dependencies between deployed resources. The template can be used to deploy the resources consistently and repeatedly. Declarative syntax. Syntax that lets you state, here is what I intend to create, without having to write the sequence of programming commands to create it. The Resource Manager template is an example of declarative syntax. In the file, you define properties for the infrastructure to deploy to Azure. Now, the resource providers. Each resource provider offers a set of resources and operation for working with an Azure service. For example, if you want to store keys and secrets, you work with the Microsoft.Key Vault resource provider. This resource provider offers a resource type called Vault for creating the key vault. So the name of the resource type is the format. So as you can see, the resource provider first / the resource type. Okay. So for example, let's see this example. The key vault type will be Microsoft.Key Vault / vaults. Okay. So the resource provider, as we mentioned, Microsoft.Key Vault, and / here is / resource type. The resource type here will be vaults. The same thing for Microsoft.Storage, .Compute, .Web, etc., etc. Thanks for watching. Create resource groups. Resources can be deployed to any new or existing resource group. Deployment of resources to a resource group becomes a job where you can track the template execution. If deployment fails, the output of the job can describe why the deployment failed. Whether the deployment is a single resource to a group or a template to a group, you can use the information to fix any errors and redeploy. So deployments are incremental. If a resource group contains 2 web apps and you decide to deploy a third, the existing web apps will not be removed. So here are some of the most important considerations. Resource groups are, at their simplest, a logical collection of resources. There are a few rules for resource groups. Resources can only exist in one resource group. Resource groups cannot be renamed. Resource groups can have resources of many different types, services. Resource groups can have resources from many different regions. Creating resource groups. There are some important factors to consider when defining your resource groups. First, all of the resources in your group should share the same life cycle. You deploy, update, and delete them together. If one resource, such as database server, needs to exist on a different deployment cycle, it should be in another resource group. Each resource can only exist in one resource group. You can add or remove a resource to a resource group at any time. You can move a resource from one resource group to another group. Limitations do apply to moving resources. A resource group can contain resources that reside in different regions. A resource group can be used to scope access control for administrative actions. A resource can interact with resources in other resource groups. This interaction is common when the two resources are related but not share the same lifecycle. For example, web apps connecting to a database. When creating a resource group, you need to provide a location for that resource group. You may be wondering, why does a resource group need a location? And if the resources can have a different locations, then the resource group, why does the resource group location matter at all? The resource group stores metadata about the resources. So therefore, when you specify a location for the resource group, you're specifying where that metadata is stored. So as simple as that, the metadata is a data about the data. Okay, it is data about what are the resources inside this resource group, the size, the time of creation, etc., etc., all of that. All right. So when you want to retrieve this metadata, it's better to have a near location for you, a near region for you. So instead of having it a far region. So for compliance reasons, you may need to ensure that your data is stored in a particular region as well. Thanks for watching. Create Azure Resource Manager logs. A common concern with resources provisioned in Azure is the ease with which they can be deleted. An overzealous or careless administrator can accidentally erase months of work with a few steps. A resource manager logs allow organization to put a structure in place that prevent the accidental deletion of resources in Azure. You can associate the log with a subscription, resource group, or resource. Logs are inherited by child resources. The log types. There are two types of resource logs. Read-only logs, which prevent any changes to the resource. Delete logs, which prevent deletion. All right? So, the read-only, this will prevent any changes. From its name, it is just read-only. All right? So, you cannot delete, you cannot update, and so on. But the delete logs, which prevent deletion, so this is to prevent any deletion, but you can read it. You can update it on that resource. You can make modification to that resource, no problem. Now, we will check it on the Azure portal. Now here from the portal, I want to go to the resource groups. I have this test resource group, all right? Now here from the blade, you can see that we have, under the settings, we have the logs here. The little small blue lock here. All right. So if I click on it, let's click on this to expand it. So from here, you can click on add, as you can see. So here it will put the lock name. So let's say lock-1. And here the lock type. It is either read only or you can have it as delete. Okay. And you can put some notes. For example, I want for delete. All right. So here I will put delete. notes, whatever. Okay. And now I cannot delete this resource group. Let's test out this thing. I want to go to the resource groups again. Now I want to delete this resource group from here. Actually, if you go to it, and you can see that we have this button, delete resource group, and here put the name of the test. Okay. And delete. You can see that here, you can see the resource group test is locked and cannot be deleted. Click to manage the logs for this resource group. I can click on it or click on the logs again. And here you can see that we have this log 1. Now when I click on the notification, when I click here, click on the log, this is the log we want. All right. Now, if I change it to read only, I cannot create any resources inside this resource group. All right. This is the difference. Now, if I delete this log, all right, and if I return back to the resource group, let me try to delete it this time. Let's put the name of the test and delete. Now you can see that the resource has been deleted successfully. All right. Okay, cool. Thanks for watching. Recognize Azure resources. Now here you can see that sometimes you may need to move resources to either a new subscription or a new resource group in the same subscription. We have subscription 1, subscription 2, and subscription 1 we have resource group 1, resource group 2, and we can move this VM to another resource group in the same subscription, or you can remove this VM, move it to another resource group on another subscription. It is okay. So when moving resources, both the resource group and the target group are locked during the operation. So write and delete operation are blocked on the resource groups until the move completes. This lock means you cannot add, update, or delete resources in the resource groups. Locks do not mean the resources are not available. For example, if you move a virtual machine to a new resource group, an application can still access the virtual machine. The limitations. Before beginning this process, be sure to read the move operation support of resources page. This page details what resources can be moved between resource group, subscription, and regions. So the implementation. To move resources, select the resource group containing those resources and then select the move button. Select the resources to move and the destination resource group. Acknowledge that you need to update scripts. So you can see that here you can find the move button and move the resources we want, either to another region, another subscription, or resource group. Thanks for watching. Remove resources and resource groups. Use the caution when deleting a resource group. Deleting a resource group deletes all of the resources inside it. So that resource group might contain resources that resources in other resource groups depend on. Using PowerShell to delete resource groups. So to remove a resource group, as we saw from the previous lectures that we deleted using the portal. Now in PowerShell we can as well as Azure CLI. So we will use in PowerShell the remove-AZ resource group. So in this example, we are removing the continuous RG01, for example, resource group from the subscription. The CMD lets prompt you for confirmation and returns no output. So here is the command. Remove-AZ resource group -name, the name of the resource group. All right. Now this is just an example for the resource group. I get it from the official documentation from Microsoft. And here this will remove the resource group. Now to remove resources, you can also delete individual resources within a resource group. For example, here we are deleting a virtual network. So notice that we can change the resource group on this page. So here you can see that we can move to another resource group, or we can delete the virtual network. So which means that we can delete individual resources as well, not just the whole resource group. Thanks for watching. Determine resource limits. Now Azure lets you view resource usage against limits. This is helpful to track current usage and plan for future uses. So here you can see this is an subscription, for example. Here you can see that we can click on the usage plus quotas. And here you can see that we have quota, the provider, the location, the usage as well. All right. And you can request an increase for that quota. The limits shown are the limits for your subscription. When you need to increase a default limit, there is a request increase link, as we saw. All resources have a maximum limit listed in Azure limits. You can go to the link as well as here. By the way, I already provided the slides. You can just download them and you can check them. If you are at the maximum limit, the limit cannot be increased. Thanks for watching. Configure resources with Azure Resource Manager templates. Scenario. So your company needs to ensure virtual machine deployments are consistent across the organization, and you use Azure Resource Manager templates to deploy resources including virtual machines. So the skills measured here in this section, deploying resources using Azure Resource Manager template, it is a part of exam the AZ-104, Microsoft Azure Administrator. So you need to know about it. So deploy and manage Azure compute resources. It will be covered in the exam 20 to 25%. Automate deployment of virtual machines, VMs, by using Azure Resource Manager templates. Modify an Azure Resource Manager template, deploy from a template, and save a deployment as an Azure Resource Manager template. So the learning objectives. In this section, you will learn how to list the advantages of Azure templates, identify the Azure template schema components, specify Azure template parameters, locate and use Azure Quick Start templates. Thanks for watching. Review Azure Resource Manager template advantages. An Azure Resource Manager template precisely defines all Resource Manager resources in deployment. You can deploy a Resource Manager template into a resource group as a single operation, and using Resource Manager templates will make your deployment faster and more repeatable. For example, you no longer have to create a VM in the portal, wait for it to finish, and then create the next VM. Resource Manager template takes care of the entire deployment for you. So the template benefits. Templates improve consistency. Resource Manager templates provide a common language for you and others to describe your deployments. Regardless of the tool or SDK that you use to deploy the template, the structure, format, and expressions inside the template remain the same. Templates help express complex deployments. Templates enable you to deploy multiple resources in the correct order. For example, you wouldn't want to deploy a virtual machine prior to creating an operating system, OS disk, or network interface. So Resource Manager maps out each resource and its dependent resources and create dependent resources first. Dependency mapping helps ensure that the deployment is carried out in the correct order. Templates reduce manual error-prone tasks. So manually creating and connecting resources can be time-consuming and it is easy to make mistakes. Resource Manager ensures that the deployment happens the same way every time. Templates are a code. So templates express your requirements through code. Think of templates as type of infrastructure as code that you can share, tested, and versioned similar to any other piece of code or piece of software. Also, because templates are code, you can create a paper trail that you can follow. So the template code documents the deployment. Most users maintain their templates under some kind of revision control, such as Git or Git. When you change the template, its revision history also documents how the template and your deployment has evolved over time. Templates promote reuse. So your template can contain parameters that are filled in when the template runs. A parameter can define a username or password, a domain name, and so on. So template parameters enable you to create multiple versions of your infrastructure, such as staging and production, while still using the exact same template. Templates are linkable. So you can link Resource Manager templates together to make the templates themselves modular. You can write small templates that each define a piece of solution and then combine them to create a complete system. A template simplifies orchestration. You only need to deploy the template to deploy all of your resources. Normally, this would take multiple operations. Thanks for watching. Explore the Azure Resource Manager template schema. Azure Resource Manager templates are written in JSON, which allows you to express data stored as an object such as virtual machine in a text. So a JSON document is essentially a collection of a key vault pair. Each key is a string whose value can be a string, a number, a Boolean expression, a list of values, an object which is a collection of other key value pairs, and so on. A resource manager template can contain sections that are expressed using JSON notation, but aren't related to the JSON language itself. So here are an example. You can see that we have the schema. This is schema. The content version, for example, nothing, parameter nothing, variables, functions, resources, output, and we close this brace or curly bracket. So you can see that this is the schema and being used, and this is just an example, all right? Without any parameter, variables, functions, any resources or outputs. Now here you can see that we have elements. So the schema, it is required. So this is the location of the JSON schema file that describes the version of the template language. So use the URL shown in the preceding example as we show from previously here. You can see this is where it is. Now content version, it is required as well. And this is the version of the template such as 1.00, etc. You can provide any value for this element. They use this value to document significant changes in your template, and this value can be used to make sure that the right template is being used. Now we have the parameters, and as you can see, it is not required. And as we saw from previously, it is empty. Values are provided when the deployment is executed to customize resource deployment. Now we have variables, and as well, it is not required. And values that are used as JSON fragments in the template to simplify template language expressions. We have functions. It is not required as well, as you can see, no. So it is a user-defined functions that are available within the template. Now we have resources, and as we saw, now all of that actually it is from here, all right? This is from the template itself, all right? So the resources, it is required in that case. And the resource type that are deployed or updated in the resource group, for example, virtual machine, web app, database, etc., etc. The outputs element here, it is not required, and this is the values that are returned after deployment. So you want to print out the name of the database, the name of the VM, the username of the database and password, etc., etc. Okay? All right, depends on the use case you prefer. Thanks for watching. Explore Azure Resource Manager template parameters. Now, in the parameters section of the template, you specify which values you can input when deploying the resources. The available properties of parameters are, as you can see, the parameter name, the type, the default value, allowed values, min value, we have max value, min length and max length, we have metadata, and the description of the metadata. All right? Now, this is just an example. Just keep it in your mind. Now, here's an example that illustrates two parameters, one of virtual machine username and one for its password. All right? So here is the parameter scope. We have admin username, and the type is string. The metadata, the description username for the virtual machine. And we close this parameter, the first parameter, which is the admin username. So you can see that we have the parameter. We opened the brace here, or the curly bracket. The admin username, this is the first parameter. We opened a brace here, and we close it here, and we put a comma, all right, or list. So here, and the type of this parameter that called admin username is string, and the metadata, the description, will be username for virtual machine. Now the second one, which is admin password, and we open a braces here. The type is secure string, not string, because this is a password. The metadata with a description is password for the virtual machine. All right, we closed this one and we closed this one. And finally, we will close, as you can see, because sorry about this is from the slides I'm showing, because you can see that we have a small brace here to close the whole parameters scope. All right, this is just the JSON format. Thanks for watching. Consider bicep templates. Azure Bicep is a domain-specific language, DSL, that uses declarative syntax to deploy Azure resources. It provides concise syntax, reliable type safety, and support for code reuse. You can use Bicep instead of JSON to develop your Azure Resource Manager templates, ARM templates. The JSON syntax to create an ARM template can be verbose and require complicated expressions. But the Bicep syntax reduces that complexity and improves the development experience. Bicep is a transparent abstraction over ARM template JSON and doesn't lose any of the JSON template capabilities. How does Bicep work? When you deploy a resource or a series of resources to Azure, you submit the Bicep template to Resource Manager, which still requires JSON templates. The tooling that's built into Bicep converts your Bicep template into a JSON template. This process is known as a transpilation. Transpilation is the process of converting source code written in one language into another language. So here an example how does the Bicep work. So here you can see this is the Bicep template. You can see that here it is, and the template author will write the template Bicep, and it will be go to as a JSON template, and then it will be implemented or deployed on Azure. Now here you can see that Bicep provides many improvements over JSON for template authoring, including a simpler syntax. So Bicep provides simpler syntax for writing templates. You can reference parameters and variables directly without using complicated functions. String interpolation is used in place of concatenation to combine values for names and other items. You can reference the properties of resource directly by using its symbolic name instead of complex reference statements. These syntax improvements help both with authoring and reading Bicep templates. Modules. You can break down complex template deployments into smaller module files and reference them in a main template. These modules provide easier management and greater reusability. Automatic dependency management. In most situations, Bicep automatically detects dependencies between your resources. This process removes some of the work involved in template authoring. Type validation and IntelliSense. The Bicep extension for Visual Studio Code features rich validation and IntelliSense for all Azure resource type API definition. This feature helps provide an easier authoring experience. Thanks for watching. Review Quick Start templates. Azure Quick Start templates are Azure Resource Manager templates provided by the Azure community. So for example, I get this image. You can see that we have a 757 Quick Start templates in the gallery. So you can see that we have for create configuration manager tech preview lab in Azure. This one, deploy a Django app, create a new AD domain with 2 domain controllers, create a standard storage account, and all of that. All right. So some templates provide everything you need to deploy your solution, while others might serve as starting point for your template. Either way, you can study these templates to learn how to best author and structure your own templates. So the readme.md file provides an overview of what the templates does. The Azure deploy.json file defines the resources that will be deployed. The Azure deploy.parameters.json file provides the value of the template's needs. So just Google it or type on Google or any search engine, Quick Start templates, Azure Quick Start templates, and it will provide everything you need. All right. Thanks for watching. Now let's start with the interactive lab about the templates. The task will be like this. Task 1, review an ARM template for deployment of an Azure resource groups. Create a resource group by using ARM template. Review the ARM template based deployment of the resource groups. All right, let's start. Now you can see that we have this resource groups that we already created, or you can just create it. It's okay. Now if I click on the resource group itself, you can see that under the setting, we have the deployments feature here. If I click on it, you can see that because this has been created manually, there are no deployment here. All right. So it's okay. No problem. Now from the search here, if I go to deploy a custom template and I click on it, from here, you can see that we can create and build our own template, either in the editor, or you can see we have as common templates or quick start template as we mentioned from the previous lectures. All right. Or you can see, if you already have a template here, you can just select it from here. All right. Now let's build our own template. It will be a very simple one. So for example, this template, if I copy and paste it on the browser here, you can see that it has a lot of information, a lot of values. It will show the value of the templates. All right. Now actually it has a lot of information. Never mind. Okay. For now, this. Okay. Now we can add a resource For example, I want to create a database, I want to create a virtual machine, or Ubuntu, Windows, Linux, web app, for example, whatever I want. Everything I add here. So for example, let me create, let's say, SQL database, test-db, and the server will be db, whatever, all right? So this is the server of the SQL, okay? And you can see that it added the resource automatically. So you can see that under the parameters, we have db admin login, password. Now, if I scroll down under the resources parameter, we can see that we have the name of the database, a lot of stuff, all right? Everything has been added automatically, all right? But discard that. Actually, we don't need to do this. So let's just create a simple, like just empty custom template, all right? So from this, let's save. And you can see that this template or customized template will be created under the test group, the resource group. All right, the test resource group we have created. I have chosen it here. All right, now let's review and create, because you can see that the summary 0 resources will be created because this is just an empty. We don't need to create anything. Just follow me for now. Let's create it and wait until it is created. Now it has been created successfully. Now this actually, if I click on the template, you can see that it is empty, no resources, nothing, all right? And no parameters, and of course the outputs are empty as well, all right? So if I go to the resource group, the test one, remember when we clicked on the deployment, it was empty, but this time it is succeed. Now we have this deployment, all right? This template, you can see that we just created, it took 1 second, all right? So if I click on it here, you can see that this is the deployment script that being used, all right? Now I can change and edit whatever I want on the template itself. So for example, here you can see that we can add whatever resources we want and we can deploy again, all right? So for example, I click on a deploy and here you can see that it will redeploy again, or you can just edit the template and add the resources you want and just deploy again, all right? You can see that this is a very elegant way to create your infrastructure. This is called infrastructure as code. The same thing as Terraform and whatever you are using, CloudFormation, other IAC, Jenkins tools, whatever you are using. This is a very elegant way to do the job, okay? As we mentioned before, one of the reasons is it is faster, you can do your job quicker, and it will prevent the human mistakes, all right? So we have reviewed ARM template. We created a resource group by using ARM, yeah, and we review the ARM template-based deployment of the resource groups, all right? Okay, now again, this is just a quick start, all right? This is not a specialized course about the template, ARM templates. Just for now, this is very important to understand the ARM template and how to write it, how to edit, what it is used for, and all of the features for it, the benefits, because this is very important for the exam, all right? Now, later on, we will talk about more about the ARM templates, building an automation setup, do all the complex work. All of that will be covered later on, no worries. But for now, just follow me, all right? Cool. Thanks for watching. Create an Azure resource using scripts in Azure PowerShell. PowerShell lets you write commands and execute them immediately. This is known as interactive mode. Recall that the overall goal in the customer relationship management CRM example is to create 3 test environments containing virtual machines. You'll use resource groups to ensure the VMs are organized into separate environments. One of unit testing, one for integration testing, and one for accepting testing. What are PowerShell CMDlets? A PowerShell command is called CMDlet, pronounced as commandlet. A commandlet is a command that manipulates a single feature. The term commandlet is intended to imply small command. By convention, commandlet, authors are encouraged to keep commandlet simple and single purpose. The base PowerShell product ships with commandlet that work with features such as sessions and background jobs. You can add modules to your PowerShell installation to get commandlets that manipulate other features. For example, there are third-party modules to work with FTP, administer your operating system, access the file system, and so on. Commandlets follow a verb-noun naming convention. For example, get process, format table, and start service. There's also a convention for a verb choice, get to retrieve data, set to insert or update data, format to format data, out to direct output to a destination, and so on. Commandlet authors are encouraged to include a help file for each commandlet. The get help commandlet displays the help file for any commandlet. For example, to get help on the get child item commandlet, enter the following statement in the Windows PowerShell session like this: get help dash name, the name of the command, which is get child item dash detailed. What is PowerShell module? Commandlets are shipped in modules. A PowerShell module is a DLL that includes the code to process each available commandlet. You will load commandlet into PowerShell by loading the module in which they are contained. You can get a list of loaded modules using the get module command. Get module, here you can see that this is the command. This command will output something like this. So when you type it on your PowerShell, it will be like this. So it will be the module type, version, and as you can see, just let me scroll here. Here you can see that the module type will be, for example, a manifest here, checkpoint computer, and the version here is the version, the name of it is Microsoft.PowerShell.management, etc., etc. The exported commands, add computer, add content, etc., etc. The same thing for other values. Just keep it in your mind. AZ is the formal name of Azure PowerShell module, which contains commandlets to work with Azure features. It contains hundreds of commandlets that let you control nearly every aspect of every Azure resource. You can work with resource groups, storage, virtual machines, Azure Active Directory, containers, machine learning, and so on. This module is an open source component available on GitHub. Install the AZ PowerShell module. The AZ PowerShell module is available from a global repository called the PowerShell Gallery. You can install the module into your local machine through the install module commandlet. To install the latest Azure AZ PowerShell module, run the following commands. Open Start menu and enter PowerShell. Select the PowerShell icon. Enter the following command and press enter. So here is the command: install module -name az-scope current user -repository be as gallery. Alright. This installs the module for your current user controlled by the scope parameter. If you saw here, you can see that the scope is the current user and the repository here it is. And you can see the current user is the scope. Okay. The command relies on NuGet to retrieve components. So depending on the version you have installed, you might be prompted to download and install the latest version of NuGet. So here you can see NuGet provider is required to continue. You may see this issue or this warning. So here PowerShell Get requires NuGet provider version whatever or newer interactive, and the provider must be available in C programs, etc., etc. Okay, or in this place. You can also install the NuGet provider by running this command. So the command will be provided as well to install it. Okay. And here you can see that it will show you something like this. The NuGet provider now, you want to install it and import it. The NuGet provider now, you can type yes, and for no, suspend. This is for help, the question mark. And the default, if you just press enter, it will be yes, Y. So you need to enter Y and press enter. By default, the PowerShell gallery isn't configured as trusted repository for PowerShell Get. Each time you perform an installation from an untrusted repository, you will be prompted to confirm you want to install the module with the following output. You can see that you are installing the module from an untrusted repository. If you trust this, change its installation policy value by running the set ps repository commandlets. So here, are you sure you want to install this module? You can just, which is this one from this repository. If you recall from the previous slides, yeah, this is the repository. Yes, for all, and then for no, and L no for all, as suspend and question mark is held. But as you can see, the default is N, which means no. Here it is, which means no. Now you can enter A or Y and press enter. Script execution failed. Depending on your security configuration, import module might fail with something like the following output. You can see that the import module, this module for example, cannot be loaded because running script is disabled on this system, and you can see more about it here at this link, etc., etc. Okay, and you can see that it will be showing the error and with unauthorized access Microsoft commands, important command. All right. Now it might also fail by not responding at all. In this case, you can press Ctrl+C to stop the program. Both behaviors typically indicates that the execution policy is restricted, which is something very important here. So meaning you cannot run modules that you download from an external source, including PowerShell gallery. You can check this by running the commandlet get execution policy. Here it is. If it returns restricted, then do the following. All right. So first you put this command and see if it is restricted. You will do the following command. We will use not get execution policy. If you see how get execution policy here, this time it will be set execution policy commandlet to change the policy to remote site. All right. Set execution policy dash execution policy to be remote site, the scope for the current user. All right. I think you are getting more understanding of how PowerShell is working. This will prompt you for permission like the following. The execution policy might helps protect you from script that you do not trust. Changing the execution policy might be expose you to the security risk described in the about execution policy help here. In that case, you can type yes. As you can see, the default is no. All right. Now you can just enter A, Y, or A, press enter. And at the command prompt, use the up arrow on your keyboard and rerun the install module for your Azure. And this time it will be working. You should be able to see the AZ module loading after it completes, and you will be able to use import module to load the commandlets. Update a PowerShell module. If you get a warning or error messaging indicating that the version of Azure PowerShell module is already installed, you can update to the latest version by issuing the following command. Update module -name AZ. And as you can see, as with the install module commandlet, answer yes to all when prompt to trust the module. You can also use update module command to reinstall a module if you are having trouble with it. So here an example, how to create a resource group with Azure PowerShell. We already saw that in the previous lecture. Now let's talk more about it. So once you've installed the Azure module, you can begin working with Azure. Let's do common task creating a resource group. As you know, we use resource group to administer related resources together. Creating a new resource group is one of the first tasks you will do when starting a new Azure solution. So there are 4 steps you need to perform. Import the Azure commandlet, connect to your Azure subscription, create the resource group, and verify that creation was successful. All right. Now we already did that in the Azure PowerShell. If you recall in the previous lectures, we already did that using the Azure Cloud Shell PowerShell module. Okay. And using the Azure CLI, which is with Bash. Now here is the following illustration. It shows an overview of these steps. So first you import, then you write the PowerShell, you connect, you create, and you verify. All right. Thanks for watching. Create and save scripts in Azure PowerShell. Complex or repetitive tasks often take a great deal of administrative time. Organizations prefer to automate these tasks to reduce costs and avoid errors. This is important for the CRM, the Customer Relationship Management Company example. So there you are testing your software on multiple Linux virtual machine VMs that you need to continuously delete and recreate. You want to use PowerShell script to automate the creation of the VMs versus creating them manually each time. Beyond the core operation of creating a VM, you have a few additional requirements for your script. You will create multiple VMs, so you want to put the creation inside the loop. You need to create a VMs in 3 different resource groups, so the name of the resource group should be passed to the script as parameter. So in this section, you will see how to write and execute Azure PowerShell script that meet these requirements. What is PowerShell script? A PowerShell script is a text file containing commands and control constructs. The commands are invocation of commandlets. The control constructs are programming features like loop, variables, parameters, comments, etc. supplied by PowerShell. PowerShell script files have a .ps1 file extension. You can create and save these files with any text editor. Once you have written the script, execute it from the PowerShell command line by passing the name of the file preceded by a dot and backslash. So here to indicate this is in the current location for the path. Okay, so this is my script.ps1. The PowerShell techniques. Now, PowerShell has many features found in typical programming languages. You can define variables, use branches and loops, capture command line parameters, write functions and comments, and so on. We will need 3 features for our script: variables, loops, and parameters. Variables. As you saw in the last unit, PowerShell supports variable used $for or to declare a variable and equal to assign a value for it. For example, here we can have the look user, we have the look variable, and we have the is to us in double quotation, which means this is a string value. And here the iterations equal 3, this is an integer value, all right? Now variables can hold objects. For example, the following definition set the admin credential variable to the object returned by the get credential commandlet. So here you can see that the admin credential variable, inside it we have the output of the get credential, all right? So to obtain the value stored in a variable, use the $sign prefix and its name as in the following. So here you can $sign equal is to us. Now new AZ resource group dash name my resource group dash location, it will be $sign look, which is the name of the variable, all right? This is very programming languages like, all right? So it is very similar to the programming languages, all right? But the thing is, the syntax here, the $sign here will be used here, not here $sign and here without it. No, $sign here and $sign here, which means the same word, the same thing with $sign look, $sign look, all right? Loops. PowerShell has several loops for do, while, for each, and so on. So the for loop is the best match for our needs because we will execute a commandlet a fixed number of times. The core syntax is shown below. The example runs for 2 iterations and prints the value of I each time. And the comparison operators are written for -it, which means less than or LT, and -LE, which means less than or equal. And we have -EQ, which means equal, and NE, which is not equal. Okay? So it is very simple. Less than or equal, equal, not equal. All right. So here an example. We have this symbol for loop. We have a $sign I equal 1 and I less than 3, I plus plus. Okay. And you can see that each time we use the I, we are using the $sign. All right. And we are here printing the I, the value of it. Parameters. When you execute a script, you can pass arguments on the command line. You can provide names for each parameter to help the script extract the values. For example, setup.ps1-size5-location is to us. This is an example. So inside the script, you will capture the values into variables. In this example, the parameters are matched by name. So you can see that here we have the location and we have the size. All right. You can omit the names from the command line, for example. So you can see that we can use, instead of using -size equal -location equal, no, you can just put this, the name of the script, the 2 parameters. So inside the script, you will rely on a position for matching when the parameters are unnamed. So here you can see that parameter, int the size, and string for the location. Okay, we could take these parameters as input and use a loop to create a set of VMs from the given parameter. We will try that next. Okay, so now the combination of PowerShell and Azure PowerShell gives you all the tools you need to automate Azure. In our CRM example, we will be able to create multiple Linux VMs using a parameter to keep the script generic and loop to avoid repeated code. This means that we can execute a formally complex operation in a single step. Alright? Thanks for watching. Control Azure services with the CLI. Now, the Azure portal is great for performing single tasks and for seeing a quick overview of the state of your resources. But for the tasks that need to be repeated daily or even hourly, using the command line and a set of tested commands or scripts can help get your work done more quickly and avoid errors. Suppose you work at a company that develops Azure web apps. These are applications hosted on Azure with all the benefits of automatically configured security, load balancing, management, and so on. You are currently testing a web app that generates sales forecasts based on a range of inputs from different databases and other data sources. Your developers use Windows, Linux, and Mac computers and use a GitHub repository for daily builds of the applications. As part of the testing, you want to compare app performance for different data sources and for different types of data connections. You've noticed that when your development team uses the Azure portal to create a new test instance of the app, they don't always use exactly the same parameters. You plan to solve this problem by using a set of standard deployment commands for each app test, which can be automated if required, and which will work in the same way across all the computers used by your software team. In this section, you will see how to manage Azure resources using the Azure CLI. So the learning objectives here in this section, you will install the Azure CLI on Linux, Mac OS, and Windows, connect to Azure subscription using the Azure CLI, create Azure resources using the Azure CLI, and so on. Now, the prerequisites. Now, you need to have experience with command line interface such as PowerShell or Bash. Now, again, not a lot of experience, but at least you know and understand somehow the basics. Knowledge of basic Azure concepts such as resource groups, and experience administering Azure resources using the Azure portal. Again, you need just to have a little information about these. You don't need to be experienced in the following, but follow me in this course and you will learn a lot. Thanks for watching. The Azure CLI is a command line program to connect to Azure and execute administrative commands on Azure resources. It runs on Linux, Mac, and Windows and allows administrators and developers to execute their commands through a terminal or command line prompt or script instead of a web browser. For example, to restart a VM virtual machine, you would use the following command: AZ-VM restart -d the name of the resource group -n the name of the VM. The Azure CLI provides cross-platform command line tools for managing Azure resources, and you can easily install it locally on Linux, Mac, and Windows computers. You can also use Azure CLI from a browser through the Azure shell. In both cases, you can use it interactively or scripted. For interactive use, you will first launch a shell, such as cmd.exe or Windows or Bash on Linux or Mac OS, and then issue the command at the shell prompt. To automate repetitive tasks, you will assemble the CLI command into a shell script using the script syntax of your chosen shell, then execute the script. How to install the Azure CLI? On both Linux and Mac OS, you will use Package Manager to install the Azure CLI. The recommended Package Manager differs by each of the OS and distribution. So for example, Linux, apt-get on Ubuntu, yum on Red Hat, and Zyber on OpenSUSE, and so on. Mac, we will use Homebrew, and the Azure CLI is available in the Microsoft repository, so you will first need to add that repository to your package manager. On Windows, you can install the Azure CLI by downloading and running the MSI file. Alright? using the Azure CLI in scripts. If you want to use the Azure CLI's commands in scripts, you need to be aware of any issues around the shell or environment used for running the script. For example, in a bash shell, you will use this syntax when setting variables. Here you can see variable equal value, the variable equal integer. If you use PowerShell environment for running CLI scripts, you will use this syntax for variable with $sign equal variable and with double quotation, which means this is a string value, and $sign variable equal integer 1, 2, 3, 10, 100, whatever. You must install the Azure CLI before you can use it to manage Azure's resources from local computer. The installation steps vary for Windows, Linux, and Mac OS, but once installed, the commands are common across platforms. Thanks for watching. Work with Azure CLI. The Azure CLI lets you type commands and execute them immediately from the command line. Recall that the overall goal in the software development example is to deploy new builds of a web app for testing. Let's talk about the sort of tasks you can do with Azure CLI. What Azure resources can be managed using the Azure CLI? The Azure CLI lets you control nearly every aspect of every Azure resource. You can work with resource groups, storage, virtual machine, Azure Active Directory, Azure AD, containers, machine learning, and so on. Commands in the CLI are structured in groups and subgroups. Each group represents a service provided by Azure, and subgroups defined by commands for these services into logical groupings. For example, the storage group contains subgroups including account, blob, and queue. So how do you find the particular commands you need? One way is to use the AZ-find, the AI robot that uses the Azure documentation to tell you more about commands, the CLI, and more. Or the other way actually is Google it, and as we saw from the previously, search about it, you can find everything. So for example, find the most popular commands related to the word blob. AZ-find blob. And another example, show me the most popular commands for Azure CLI command group, such as AZVM. It will be AZ-find AZVM, as you can see with double quotation. So AZ-find here is an option for us. Example, show me the most popular parameters and subcommands for the Azure CLI command. AZ-find, as you can see in double quotation, AZ-VM create. If you already know the name of the command you want, you can use the -- help argument for that command. Will get you more detailed information on the command. And for command group, a list of the available subcommands. So with our storage example, here's how you can get a list of subgroups and commands for managing blob storage. AZ storage blob -- help. You can see that here. The option is -- or - help, and it will provide all the detailed information about it. Now, how to create an Azure resource? So when you are creating a new Azure resource, there are typical 3 steps. Connect to your Azure subscription, create the resource, and verify that the creation was successful. So here is the following illustration, shows a high-level overview of the process. So first you connect, create, and verify. And we already did that previously. So here it's showing the steps to create Azure resource using the command line interface. All right. So by the way, each step corresponds to a different Azure CLI command. Now connect. Since you are working with local install of the Azure CLI, if you are using it locally, and if you are not using it as a cloud shell, then you will need to authenticate before you can execute Azure commands. By using the Azure CLI login command, AZ login, here it will connect you to the Azure using the authentication. All right. The Azure CLI will typically launch your default browser to open Azure sign-in page. If this doesn't work, follow the command line instruction and enter authorization code at this URL. Okay, I already uploaded the slides. You can check this out. All right. After successful sign-in, you will be connected to your Azure subscription. Now create. You will often need to create a new resource group before you create an Azure service. So we will use resource groups as an example to show how to create Azure resources from the CLI. The Azure CLI group create command creates a resource group. You must specify a name and location. The name must be unique within your subscription. The location determines where the metadata for your resource group will be stored. You use strings like West US, North Europe, or West India to specify the location. Alternatively, you can use single word equivalents such as West US, North Europe, or West India, and so on. The core syntax is like this: AZ group create, dash name the name, and dash location the location. Verify. Now, for many Azure resources, the Azure CLI provides a list subcommand to view resource details. For example, the Azure CLI group list command lists your Azure resource groups. This is useful to verify whether the resource group was successfully created. AZ group list. Alright? To get more concise view, you can format the output as simple table. So you can see that we can dash dash output table. Thanks for watching. Deploy Azure infrastructure by using JSON ARM templates. JSON Azure Resource Manager templates ARM templates allow you to specify your project's infrastructure in declarative and reusable way. The templates can be versioned and saved in the same source control as your development project. Suppose you are managing a software team that's developing an inventory system for your partner companies. You plan to deploy this product to Azure, and each partner company will have its own solution. The learning objectives. In this section, you will implement an JSON ARM template by using Visual Studio Code, declare resources and add flexibility to your template by adding parameters and outputs. Prerequisites. Familiarity with Azure, including the Azure portal, subscription, resource groups, and resource definition. At least have a simple, just a little familiarity. An Azure account, you need it. A Visual Studio Code installed locally, which is for free. You can just download and install it online. No problem. The Azure Resource Manager tool for Visual Studio Code extension installed locally. So once you install Visual Studio Code, you need to install the extension. Either the latest Azure CLI tools installed locally or the latest Azure PowerShell installed locally, depends on what you prefer. Thanks for watching. Explore Azure Resource Manager template structure. In this unit, you will learn about using Azure Resource Manager templates, ARM templates, to implement infrastructure as code. You survey the sections of an ARM template, learn how to deploy your ARM template to Azure, and deliver it into detail in the resources section of ARM template. Now, what is infrastructure as code? Infrastructure as code enables you to describe through code the infrastructure that you need for your application. With infrastructure as code, you can maintain both your application code and everything you need to deploy your application in a central code repository. The advantages to infrastructure as code are consistent configuration, improved scalability, faster deployment, better traceability, and so on. Now, what is an ARM template? ARM templates are JavaScript object notation JSON files that define the infrastructure and configuration for your deployment. The template uses a declarative syntax. The declarative syntax is a way of building the structure and elements that outline what resources will look like without describing its control flow. Declarative syntax is different than imperative syntax, which uses commands for the computer to perform. Imperative scripting focuses on specifying each step in deploying the resources. ARM templates allow you to declare what you intend to deploy without having to write the sequence of programming commands to create it. In an ARM template, you specify the resources and the properties for those resources. Then Azure Resource Manager uses that information to deploy the resources in an organized and consistent manner. Benefit of using ARM templates. ARM templates allow you to automate deployment and use the practice of infrastructure as code, IAC. The template code becomes part of your infrastructure and development projects. Just like application code, you can store the IAC files in a source repository and version it. Our templates are idempotent, which means you can deploy the same template many times and get the same resource types in the same state. Resource Manager orchestrates the deployment of the resources so they are created in the correct order. When possible, resources will also be created in parallel so ARM template deployments will be working. Okay. Now, here are the benefits of using the templates. You can see that we have the resource manager template, and here it is the template has been submitted. And we have a non-template infrastructure as code, multiple imperative bots calls. Here you can see. Now the resource manager or the Azure resource manager will take it and it will use the resource provider to provide the resources. Now resource manager also has built-in validation. It checks the template before starting the deployment to make sure the deployment will succeed. If your deployment becomes more complex, you can break your ARM templates into smaller reusable components. You can link these smaller templates together at deployment time. You can also nest templates inside other templates. In the Azure portal, you can review your deployment history and get information about the state of the deployment. The portal displays value for all the parameters and outputs. You can also integrate your ARM templates into continuous integration and continuous deployment CI/CD tools like Azure Pipelines, which can automate your release pipelines for fast and reliable application and infrastructure updates. By using Azure DevOps and ARM templates tasks, you can continuously build and deploy your projects. ARM template file structure. When writing an ARM template, you need to understand all the parts that make up the template and what they do. ARM template files are made up of the following elements. Here it is. You can see that we have the schema, we have the content version, the API profile, the parameter, the variables, the functions, resources, and outputs. Okay. Now each one has a description. So for example, the schema, it is a required section. This one is a required. Defines the location of the JSON schema file that describes the JSON data. Okay. The content version is a required as well. This is the version of the template. For example, 1.0.0.0. This is used, as you can see, you can use this value to document the significant change in your template, okay? To make sure that you are deploying the right template. We have the API profile. This is an optional. This is to define a collection of API versions for resource types. You can use this value to avoid having to specify API version for each resource in the template. We have the parameters. This is an optional. We have the variables. This is an optional. We have the functions. This is an optional as well. This is a user-defined functions, and these the same things. I think we already mentioned that in previously. We have the resources, and this is a required section that defines the actual item you want to deploy or update in the resource group or subscription. And we have the output with this, and this again is an optional where you specify the values that will be returned at the end of the deployment. Deploy an ARM template to Azure. You can deploy ARM template in Azure in the following ways: deploy a local template, deploy a linked template, deploy in a continuous deployment pipeline. This section focuses on deploying a local ARM template. To deploy a local ARM template, you need to have either Azure PowerShell or Azure CLI installed locally. First, sign in to the Azure by using Azure CLI or Azure PowerShell using the AZ login command, as we saw previously. Next, you define your resource group. You can use an already defined resource group or create a new one with the following command. Also, you can obtain the available location values from AZ account list, CLI, or get AZ location. You can configure the default location using AZ configure -defaults location, and you put the location after you get and receive it from here. Okay. And here you can see that this is the command that we talked about to create a new resource group, AZ group create. And this is for used the / here used for a new line, which means this is a new line on the same command, so it will not be very long. -- name, the name of your resource group, -- location, the location, and here you put the location without the braces. Okay, this is just as an example. All right. To start the template deployment at resource group, use either Azure CLI command, AZ deployment group create, or the Azure PowerShell command new -AZ resource group deployment. Both commands require the resource group, the region, and the name for the deployment, so you can easily identify it in the deployment history. For convenience, the exercises create a variable that stores the path to the template file. This variable makes it easier for you to run deployment command because you don't have to retype the path every time you deploy. Here's an example for it. So here is the template file. Provide the path to the template file. AZ deployment group create and -- name the blanket template. This is the name of the template. Resource group, the name of the resource group. The template file, and you can put as the variable, use the variable here, the template file, and here it will be deploying. Use linked templates to deploy complex solution. You can break a template into many templates and deploy these templates through a main template. When you deploy the main template, it triggers the deployment of the linked template. You can store and secure the linked template by using SaaS token. A CI/CD pipeline automates the creation and deployment of development projects, which includes ARM templates projects. The two most common pipelines used for template deployment are Azure pipelines or GitHub Action. Now add resources to the template. To add resources to your template, you will need to know the resource provider adds its types of resources. The syntax for this combination is in the form of resource provider resource type. For example, to add a storage account resource to your template, you will need Microsoft Storage resource provider, as we mentioned previously. One of the types of this provider is storage account, so your resource type will be displayed as Microsoft storage accounts. You can use list of resource providers for Azure resource to find the providers you need. After you have defined the provider and resource type, you need to understand the properties for each resource type you want to use. For details, see defined resources in Azure Resource Manager templates and view the list in the left column to find the resource. Notice that the properties are sorted by API version. Now here an example. You can see that we have this resource provider, Microsoft storage accounts, template reference. And here you can see that from the Azure templates, you can see that here is a template format to create a Microsoft storage accounts resource. Add the following JSON to the resources section of your template. So this is an already with API version. This is to create a storage account. Also, here is an example of some of the listed properties from the storage accounts page. You can see that the name here for the objects of the Microsoft storage account, the name, the type, the API version, the SKU, the kind, location, tags, identity, properties, resources, and each one of them will be shown even as required. So for example, the name is required. Here the tags are not required, the identity are not required, and the resources are not required here for this storage account. And the type for each of the objects. So here is a string, here is enum, here is an object, and the other here is an array. Okay, and you can see the value for each one of them. So what you need to put. Thanks for watching. Add flexibility to your Azure Resource Manager template by using parameters and outputs. In the last lecture, you created Azure Resource Manager ARM template and added an Azure storage account to the ARM template. You might have noticed that there is a problem with your template. The storage account name is hard-coded. You can only use this template to deploy the same storage account every time. To deploy a storage account with a different name, you would have to create a new template, which isn't a practical way to automate your deployments. The storage account SKU is also hard-coded, which means you cannot vary the type of storage account for different environments. Recall that in our scenario, each deployment might have a different type of storage account. You can make your template more reusable by adding a parameter for the storage account SKU. In this lecture, you will learn about parameters and output sections of the template. Template parameters. Now, template parameters enable you to customize the deployment by providing values that are tailored for a particular environment. For example, you pass in a different values based on whatever you are deploying to an environment for development, test, production, or others. For example, the previous template used the standard LRS storage account SKU. You can reuse this template for other deployments that create a storage account by making the name of the storage account SKU a parameter. Then you pass in the name of the SKU you want for this particular deployment when the template is deployed. You can do this step either at the command line or by using a parameter file. In the parameter section of the template, you specify which value you can input when you deploy the resources. You are limited to 256 parameters in the template. Parameter definition can use most template functions. The available properties for parameter are, like you see, we open the parameter scope, the parameter name, the type, here is the type of the parameter, the default value of the parameter, the allowed values. Here are array of allowed values. You can put it as with a squared brackets here. You can, don't forget to put the commas here, the list after each sentence or each parameter. Now we have the min value for the integer and the maximum value here as an integer, okay? And we have the min length. This is a string or array. You can put it here, and we max length as well. We have the metadata, and the metadata, for example, we want to use the description of the parameter. Here you can see, and we close it, and we close the parameter, the upper or the scope of the parameter. For that, this is to close this one. You can see that the parameter name. This is for the parameter name. Okay, so you put the first parameter, you put second parameter, third, etc., etc. Okay, and you close the parameters scope. Okay. Now the allowed types of the parameters are string, secure string, integers, boolean, object, secure object, array. Now recommendation for using parameters. Use parameters for settings that vary according to the environment. For example, SKU, size, or capacity. Also use parameters for resource names that you want to specify yourself for easy identification or to comply with internal naming conventions. Provide a description for each parameter and use default values whenever possible. For security reasons, never hard code or provide a default values for usernames or passwords in templates. Now, using parameters in the ARM store. In the parameters section of the ARM template, use parameters in an ARM template. Now, in the parameters section of ARM template, specify the parameters that can be input when you deploy the resources. You are limited to 256 parameters in a template. Here's an example of the template file parameter storage queue defined in the parameter section of the template. You can provide default for the parameter to be used if no value is specified at execution. So here in example, we already saw it. So, but this is not just a general value. Here are a specific value. So the name of the parameter is the storage account type. The type is string. The default value is standard LRS. The allowed values here you can see standard LRS, standard GRS, standard ZRS, premium LRS, and so on. The metadata, this is the description, storage account type, and you close this. So the parameter is this one. The type here is it. The default value, if no one from the allowed values is specified, you will use the standard LRS. Okay, and here is a description, as you can see, as a metadata description for the parameter. Then use the parameter in the resource definition. The syntax is, as we saw, parameters name of the parameter. You use the parameters function. You can learn more about the function in the next lecture. Don't worry, we will talk about the functions later on. Now here, this is another example. The resource here, we will use the Microsoft.storage/storage accounts, the API version, the name of it, the location of it, okay, and the SKU. Here you can see we are using the parameter storage account type, okay, as we saw the syntax, as we saw, and the kind will be storage v2, and the properties will be support HTTPS traffic only and 2. Okay, now again, don't worry, you don't need to memorize all of these. Actually, there, as we saw previously, that there are already ready ARM templates ready to be used, okay, and customized with a lot of support, with a lot of documentation. So you don't need to worry about memorizing this, okay. You just need to understand the syntax, how to write, how to modify, what this means, what does that mean, and all of that, okay. But you need to memorize? No, absolutely no. Okay, now when you deploy the template, you can give a value for the parameter. Notice the last line in the following command. So here you can see this is the template file, a variable. This is the one. AZ deployment group create, the name of it. The template file here is the template file we are using, and the parameters here you can see that we can pass a parameter. The storage account type equals standard LRS. Okay, so what we saw from the previous example here, as we can see, the storage account type, you can see that it will be like this. The storage account type, it will be standard LRS. So if I return back here, actually, just 1 second, here, you can see that the storage account type for the parameters, here I have passed the standard LRS, okay? Just 1 second. Yes, here it is. I have passed the standard LRS, all right? Okay. So far, so good. Now, in the output section of your ARM template, you can specify values that will be returned after a successful deployment. Here are elements that make up the output section. So here is the output name, here you can put it, and here the condition, Boolean value, whether to output the value, okay, and the type of the output value, the value of the output value expression, the copy, here is a copy. So for example, count, number of iteration, input, value of the variable, and so on. Okay, and we close the scope of the outputs. Okay, now don't worry, we will see an example for this in the next slides. But for now, here you can see that here are the elements. Okay, we have the output name. This must be a valid JavaScript identifier. The condition, this is an optional. This is a Boolean value that indicates whether this output value is retained. So when it is true, the value is included in the output for the build deployment. When it is false, the output value is skipped for this deployment. When not specified, the default value is true. Okay. Now the type here is the type of the output value, and the value here, you can see that it is an optional. This is the template language expression that evaluated and retained as an output value. And we have the copy is used to return more than one value for an output. Now here an example to the output storage accounts endpoints. You can see that we open the outputs, we open the scope, the storage endpoint. This is the name of the output. The type will be object. The value will be referenced to the learn template storage 123 dot primary endpoints, and here we closed. So this will return the endpoints of this template. Okay. Now again, don't worry about these details. This is just a general idea about the ARM template. What are the outputs? How we are use it? And again, we will talk about this, about ARM template, how to write the ARM template, how to modify it in details later on. But for now, keep in your mind what are the ARM templates, parameters, what are the syntax, where to get the information, what does that mean, what is the syntax, what are the value accepted, and so on. Okay. Now notice that the reference part of the expression here, this function gets the runtime state of the storage account. Okay. By the way. Now recall that ARM templates are idempotent, which means that you can deploy the template to the same environment again, and if nothing was changed in the template, so nothing will be changed in the environment. All right. So if a change was made to the template, for example, you change parameter value, only that change will be deployed. So your template can contain all of the resources you need on your Azure solution, and you can safely execute the template again. Resources will be created only if they didn't already exist, only if there's a change. Thanks for watching.